Donald Trump, turn the volume up.
In charge of New York City.
Oh, Piers, being originally from Yonkers, New York, it's just it's overwhelmingly just happy. Piers, if you told me, Piers Morgan told Vincent Oshana 20 years ago that New York City would elect a mayor who is a Muslim guy, who is a terrorist sympathizer, who is anti-cop, who literally took a photo with a co-conspirator of the first World Trade bombing, Piers, I would laugh in your face. But guess what? The joke is on me. And I'm telling you right now, Piers, it's almost as if The Dark Knight, the movie, Bane is there. Bane is going to be Mamdani. And you wait to see what he's going to do to this city. Okay? And Piers, let me back up a little bit. Shame on the Republicans, first and foremost. They couldn't pick one good, energetic, pro-American patriot to run. No offense to Curtis Silva, but he's too old. He's too boring. All right? The campaign was horrible. Piers, and guess what? No American's going to vote for a guy with a red beret. I'm sorry. That's number one. Number two, Democrats. All they had to put up to go against this guy, Piers, was a failed mayor, Eric Adams, who made it a sanctuary city, brought in all the illegals, crime went up, gave them money, gave them credit cards, put them in hotels, and then was like, whoops, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It was the Democrat leadership that made me do it. Cut to Andrew Cuomo, okay? Talk about a governor that failed. The alleged sex scandal, whatever you want to call it, and then he killed how many thousands of poor old grandmothers and grandfathers did he kill in New York? And guess when he apologized, Piers? Not 2 years after, not 3 years, the day of the election, he goes, I'm sorry, I messed up, all right? Which is absolutely horseshit. And I'm sorry for my language, Piers, but New York is going to get a taste of their medicine. I hate to say it, Piers, but sometimes you got to let the kid touch the iron and let him burn himself until he learns his lesson, and they're going to learn their lesson in about 1 or 2 years. You'll see, Piers.
Well, like I thought, you're jubilant about what's happened. Let me go to Aramata. You were making a few expressions there as Vinny was unleashing. I mean, from my point of view, it's very interesting because you've got results last night, which overall, a lot of wins for the Democrats, obviously, which is a good thing if you're a Democrat supporter. But two very distinct types of win. You've got the moderates winning, and then you've got Mamdani winning in New York, who's a self-declared socialist. These are very different pathways for the party to go. Many people feel that it's going to be problematic to have someone like Mamdani, who is incredibly charismatic, rapidly becoming the face of the party, but a bit like with AOC and the others on the left, in a general election, highly unlikely to succeed with that kind of agenda. What do you think?
I think the people of New York showed that Mamdani is in touch with the grassroots of the Democratic Party and the majority of the country. If we can get past the fear-mongering that we heard from Vinny about Mamdani being a terrorist sympathizer and all the other smears that are used to dismiss his progressive agenda, he's not. He's just someone who believes that Palestinians are equal human beings. And for people devoted to the state of Israel, they can't understand that concept because they're Jewish supremacists, or they've internalized Jewish supremacy. But everybody else understands that in this era of Democrats and Republicans supporting a genocide, supporting an assault on working people, someone like Mamdani is a reasonable alternative. Yes, he calls himself a democratic socialist. If you look at his policies, they're incredibly moderate. He wants to establish free buses for working people. He wants to freeze the rent in rent stabilized apartments. He wants to provide universal child care. All these policies are wildly popular. The difference is, and what's radical about him, is that he's centering working people. He's talking about issues that actually impact average people's lives. Donald Trump promised to do all the things that Mamdani has talked about, but he hasn't. He's just delivered for his billionaire backers and the cabinet that backs them up. So Mamdani, unlike everybody else pretty much in U.S. politics, with some exception, is actually speaking to average people's needs, including on the issue of Israel-Palestine, where people were just fed up with both parties supporting genocide in Gaza.
Okay, Mark Lamont Hill.
Aaron, if you don't mind me, Piers, can I just can I just say one thing?
Quickly,
Aaron, did he not take a photo with the co-conspirator of the first World Trade bombing? Did he not take a photo with that? Hold on, smiling, and I'm pretty sure you didn't say anything. And all that stuff that you said, all that cool free stuff.
Respond. Yes.
Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? Who is going to pay for it? I'm just curious. By the way, and show me one time that this has worked. Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union. Okay. Give me an example. Give me a case study. And hold on. Don't smile. Okay. I'll come with you. I'm all in. Show me when it
Okay.
worked, and I'll buy it. I'll buy it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Give it to me.
To answer your questions in order, in the course of campaigning, where candidates take pictures with literally thousands of people, he appeared in one photo with someone who was identified as an unindicted co-conspirator in a bomb he was never even charged for. So yes, people take photo ops all the time.
Yeah,
Andrew Cuomo,
unindicted meaning what? He was in the room.
Excuse
Give
me.
me a break, bro. Give
I'm
me a
answering your
break.
question.
That's not what that means.
Andrew Cuomo has taken pictures with actual war criminals, unlike Zohran Mamdani, who rejects the endorsement of war criminals. In terms of how he's going to pay for it, he's already said he's going to tax the ultra wealthy a little bit more, who already make all the money in the world. That's who he's going to pay for his popular social programs. He's not proposing anything like we've seen in Cuba.
They're all leaving.
Or
And guess who's leaving? Guess who the mass exodus is going to be? Guess who the mass... And just out of curiosity, they're going to leave. Hold on. You know what you're not talking about? Who is going to come to New York? Who's going to come to New York? He wants to let people out of prisons. Okay, think about it. He wants to give away free stuff. Hold on. And he's pro-illegal. What the hell's going to happen to New York? You're missing the whole point.
People like you,
about the mass exodus,
people like you want to, people like
it.
you. Okay, Benny, listen. People like you want to give away free stuff to foreign governments like Israel to slaughter innocent civilians. Zohran Mamdani wants to use government resources.
When have I ever said I'm pro-Israel? When have I ever said that?
Listen,
don't put words in my mouth.
By adopting the smears.
I pray for the innocent women and children of Palestine. Don't put words in my mouth, because Aaron, you don't know me, but I know this spiel. And you have to bring up Donald Trump. You always, and this is the problem, Piers, why these people have no leaders, no vision, no message, because for 8 years, you've been saying Trump,
He's the president.
Trump, and when the dust settles, you have nobody.
Trump is the president. Time out, guys. Time out. I want to bring in, we've got 2 other panel members. I want to bring them in. Martin Lamont Hill, you know, here are the things about Mamdani, which I like. He's very charismatic. He's got a very clear identity, I think, about what he stands for. He's an unashamed socialist. So he just says, this is what I am. There's something admirable about someone who says, these are my political colors. That's fine. I may not agree with him. He's an Arsenal fan, a very big Arsenal fan. He's been talking about it this morning. So he's clearly got immaculate taste when it comes to his football teams. But here's the issue, isn't it, Mark? For the party, I think it's if he turns out to be a massive success in New York, hallelujah, he might be the guy who ends up becoming the president, right? And the Democrat superstar. Here he is now in charge of the biggest city in the country on a very socialist agenda of giving all this stuff away. We've kind of seen a parallel for this in the UK with the Labour government who got swept in over a year ago with a massive majority, and it's already crumbling at the seams. They're about to launch a massive tax raid on pretty much everybody. They're incredibly unpopular, and it's all gone pear-shaped very, very quickly. If that happens with Mamdani in New York, conversely, it becomes a referendum on the Democrats that their big star turned out to be, you know, a wolf in sheep's clothing. When was the last time you truly trusted the seafood you brought home? I used to second guess everything: nutrition, taste, sustainability, and provenance, until I found Wild Alaskan Company. And I'm thrilled to say they're now sponsoring this show. Wild Alaskan delivers wild-caught, perfectly portioned seafood directly to your door. No antibiotics, no additives, just clean, nutrient-rich fish which support healthy oceans and happy fishing communities. Their fish is frozen right off the boat to lock in taste and nutrients like omega-3s. They offer a flexible membership which makes it easy to keep your freezer stocked with seafood you can really feel great about. And with a 100% money-back guarantee, there's no risk, just quality seafood you can trust, all sourced from Alaska. Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/peers, that's P-I-R-S, for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood. That's wildalaskan.com/peers for $35 off your first order. And our thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode.
Wow, that wolf in sheep's clothing would be a a bit of a leap, even if he were somehow not successful. But I think that there are a few issues on the table here. One, we continue to call him a socialist. And I think it's important to reiterate that he identifies as a democratic socialist, right? And there are different types of socialism, and democratic socialism does not support the abolition of private property. It is not saying that there's no democratic elections. Many of the kind of boogeyman references that are made to socialism don't apply to Mamdani's vision or his self-identification any more than it does to AOC or any more than it does to Bernie Sanders. I think one of the things we've learned in the last few years is that Democrats have played it far too safe. They're not speaking to people's needs. They're not speaking to people's interests, speaking to the fact that people need the rent to stay stable, that they need access to food, clothing, and shelter. That's what Mamdani is doing. And if for some reason he were not to be successful and didn't have a great mayoral administration, I don't think it would be fair to say that I see that as a referendum on his ideology any more than all the other unsuccessful mayors and governors around the country or presidents around the country and the world who have had unsuccessful campaigns as capitalists and imperialists and fascists. We don't say, oh, maybe we should try something different. Sometimes it's about changing the driver, and sometimes it's about changing the direction. What we saw in New York last night was that New Yorkers want to do both. They wanted new leadership, but they also want a new vision. And I think that that's something that Democrats should follow, because the way they've been working so far has not been working.
Okay, literally, the thing that I would be concerned about if I was Donald Trump and the Republicans is that the running theme behind all the successes the Democrats had last night was affordability. And there's no doubt the cost of living crisis coming out of the pandemic, inflation continuing. Trump can claim some wins in bringing some prices down, others not so good. But this ongoing running sore of the standard of living for people in the bottom bracket of society in America is not going away. People feel angry enough now to vote for people who they think are going to tackle as a priority affordability. It's been very striking to me that Mamdani, he doesn't want to get involved much in foreign affairs. He wants to focus specifically on the ability of really impoverished New Yorkers who can't afford their groceries, who can't afford to rent a home, and so on. That has been something that's resonated. There's no doubt about that.
Mark, respectfully, it's great to be here with you, but I got to address some of the claims that you made. This guy literally said he wants to seize the means of production, okay? We're not slapping a communist label on him just for our shits and giggles. He literally said this himself. And Aaron, as someone who has fundraised for Democrats, who's been in the game for a very long time, I can tell you that politicians at a high level, they vet every single person in the room. You better believe that no random person can just take a photo with Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. We vetted them. Someone actually who owed $40,000 to the IRS is booted out of the room because they didn't want him to be seen with Joe Biden, okay? So this is not just, this is very intentional on his part for you to say, oh, it was just some random dude who showed up. And not only did he take a photo with him, he decided to compliment him. That was a conscious decision. But Pierce, going back to what you said, he did a good job of campaigning on affordability, yes. But I also want to remind folks that we were heading in the right direction, so much so that Jerome Powell decided to lower interest rates not once but twice. So it takes a long time to bounce back from the mess that Joe Biden got us in, but we are moving in the right direction. And frankly, I know, Vinny, I love you to death, babe. I know you're upset about this, but I think this is the biggest gift for Republicans that we could possibly hope for, because honestly, Marxist Mamdani, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, these people being the face of the Democratic Party is exactly what I want to run on going into 2026.
Okay, I want to just hold. Let me just hold the panel there. Let me hold the panel for a moment.
Yeah, because
I'm going to come back to the panel in a moment. I want to just bring in Frank Luntz, the pollster extraordinaire. Frank, your take on last night? I thought it was a very interesting set of results. Obviously, overall, a good night for the Democrats, but pulling in two very, very different directions: moderate, and then the socialist in New York.
The race, to me, that was by far the most important, didn't even feature a candidate. It was the ballot initiative in California, which some of your audience won't know much about, but that's going to allow the Democrats to completely rewrite the borders, the districts, the lines that'll determine which voters vote in which areas. And that's going to give the Democrats 5 or maybe even 6 additional House seats. Now, Republicans had done it before in Texas. Democrats had a really bright smart usage of language on the ballot to help them win that race, but it wasn't even close. And Piers, that shift may well determine who controls Congress in 2026, and that's going to change history as we know it. That was the most significant race. I know it doesn't get the kind of yelling or kind of passion that the New York mayoral race does, but I'm telling you that the California voters have absolutely changed, have uprooted what was going to happen in America, and that's going to be the big story that we're going to be talking about for months and even for years.
Yeah, really, really interesting. And I don't disagree with you at all. It's a seismic thing that happened in California. But on the point about the direction of the Democrat Party, Mamdani is now the standout superstar of the party. And he's come from nowhere. And he's like this incredibly charismatic. I watched his speech last night. He's taking it to Trump and so on. You know, I can see a lot of young Democrats in particular cheering him on, thinking this is great. But his politics are very, very different, for example, to somebody like Abigail Spanberger, who won in Virginia. Which way is the party going to go? Which is more electable? Can you win a general election in America, do you think, if you are a self-declared socialist?
Absolutely not. And the party is going in both directions. And the progressives had a great win yesterday, and a significant win. And they finally have a spokesman who's incredibly articulate and powerful. And that helps the Bernie Sanders AOC wing of the party. The one who's probably most upset this morning is Chuck Schumer, because his Democratic Party is disappearing. On the Republican side, the party is no longer the party of Ronald Reagan. It's all about Donald Trump and his accolades. Both parties are moving in those directions away from the center. And in the end, there are going to be more and more Americans who look at both Republicans and Democrats and say, I can't vote for any of you. But Piers, you know, I've been on this now for several years. I think the loser last night isn't the Republican Party. It's actually the American people, because I see both parties rejecting the center, both parties rejecting a common sense approach and moving in these ideological directions. That does fire people up. That does excite younger people.